At exactly 3:17 a.m., there was a knock. Not loud, not desperate, just precise. And by sunrise, an entire family would be gone. This story takes us to a quiet suburban neighborhood on the outskirts of Manchester, England, in the winter of 2014. A place where nothing unusual ever seemed to happen. Tree-lined streets, identical houses, neighbors who waved but rarely asked questions. Inside one of those homes lived the Carter family. David Carter, 42, his wife Emma, 39, and their two children, Lily, 11, and Noah, 7. To anyone looking from the outside, they were ordinary, stable, happy, safe, until one moment, at 3:17 in the morning, changed everything. David worked as an accountant, methodical, quiet, reliable. Emma was a primary school teacher, warm, social, deeply loved by her students. Their life followed a routine. School runs, work days, family dinners, weekend outings. Neighbors would later say there were no signs of trouble, no arguments, no strange visitors, no sudden changes. But there was one detail, small, almost forgettable, that would later stand out. 2 weeks before the incident, Emma mentioned to a friend someone had been calling their landline late at night. No one ever spoke, just silence. And then a click. At the time, it seemed like nothing. December 12th, 2014, the night was unusually cold. Frost clung to the windows, and the streets were empty. At 3:17 a.m., a knock echoed through the Carter home. 3 knocks, evenly spaced. David woke first. He checked the clock. 3:17, too late for visitors. Too early for anything normal. Emma stirred beside him. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Another knock, same rhythm. David got out of bed, slowly, carefully. He didn't turn on the lights. As he walked down the stairs, the house felt different, too quiet, too still. He reached the front door, paused, and asked, "Who is it?" No answer, just silence. Then, one final knock. David hesitated, but unlocked the door. What happened next? No one knows for certain. Because at 7:45 a.m., when Lily's school called to report she hadn't arrived, the truth began to unfold. Police were dispatched for a welfare check. The front door of the Carter home was slightly open. Inside, there were no signs of forced entry, no broken windows, no struggle. But the house was empty. Beds were unmade, breakfast dishes untouched, phones left behind, and yet the entire family had vanished. Detectives initially considered voluntary disappearance, but it didn't add up. The Carters had no financial problems, no history of conflict, no reason to leave everything behind. Then came the first clue. Neighbors reported hearing a car around 3:20 a.m. Not unusual, except for one detail. The engine had been running for several minutes. Security cameras from a nearby street captured a shadowy figure near the Carter home at 3:14 a.m. The footage was grainy, indistinct, but the figure appeared to be waiting. Another discovery raised more questions. David's computer revealed that just hours before the incident, he had accessed an encrypted email account, something his wife and colleagues didn't know existed. Inside were messages, short, vague, coded. One line stood out. "Tonight, 3:17, be ready." Investigators began to suspect the knock wasn't random, it was expected. As the investigation continued, more details emerged. David had recently taken a leave of absence from work. He told colleagues it was for personal reasons. Emma, however, had told a friend she was worried. She said David had been distant, secretive. Then came the most disturbing discovery. In the basement of the Carter home, hidden behind storage boxes, police found a locked metal case. Inside were passports, not one set but 4, all bearing the Carter family's names, but with different birth dates, different identities, as if they had been preparing to become someone else. Just when the case seemed to point toward a planned disappearance, a new piece of evidence changed everything. Forensic analysis of the front door revealed traces of a chemical sedative. It had been applied to the door handle, meaning whoever knocked that night may have intended to incapacitate whoever answered. But David opened the door willingly, which raised a chilling question. Did he know who was on the other side? Then, 6 months later, a breakthrough. A body was discovered in a remote wooded area, nearly 50 miles away. It was David Carter. Cause of death, blunt force trauma. But there was something even more unsettling. In his pocket, a piece of paper. On it, just 3 words. "They found us." Despite years of investigation, Emma, Lily, and Noah Carter were never found. No confirmed sightings, no further evidence, no answers. Authorities eventually concluded David may have been involved in something far larger than anyone realized, something that caught up with him that night. But what exactly that was remains unknown. Was he trying to protect his family? Or had he unknowingly put them in danger? And who knocked on that door at 3:17 a.m.? Some mysteries don't begin with chaos. They begin quietly, with something as simple as a knock, 3 taps in the dark, a door opening, a moment of trust. And sometimes that's all it takes. Because the most terrifying part of this story isn't what we know, it's what we never will.